Good morning, afternoon, evening. Hello, MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. It is May the 4th. Be with you, 2018. How's everybody in the chat doing today? Hello back to you. Hey, Dave. Hey, Dennis. Hey, Michelle. Brian and Ryan. Rhyming names back to back. Hello. Patricia Frischmidt. Lots of Motzi. Eric. NU, Lawrence, Ben, Grant, Su Young, hello, Peter. Glad to see people are doing well. Quite a few people hanging out in the chat there. There's not a count here, but I have to scroll, so that's nice. Well, today, I'm going to go over some of the things that we are working on here. 3 things in particular. A new friend system, a new region that we're working on, Queso Canyon, and then Relic Hunter Season 6 as well. Have some questions, some feedback to collect about those things. So we'll dive right in with the friend system. Let me slide on down here. So I have a few mock-ups around me here. Some time ago, we began laying some technical groundwork for a new in-game friend system that is separated from Facebook. For the last couple months, we've been working on completing the project by building a request system and refactoring some parts of the game code that were heavily coupled with Facebook. So kind of as a result of this 10-year-old game that originally launched on Facebook, there was a whole lot of deep little code issues that it was quite difficult to separate out your friends from Facebook, because we didn't quite have the foresight to know that it wouldn't be exclusively a Facebook game when it was built ever so long ago. So it's certainly been a huge undertaking, a very massive project. Actually, I looked up one of the tasks that we originally started on, and it was in 2016 was when we kind of started taking the baby steps to change the way the data is stored. So it's been a huge undertaking. There's still lots of work left to do and plenty of testing to be done, but we're excited to share that the project is almost there. So this the new friend system, it will display, or you'll get to manage your friends list directly in MouseHunt without the need to add people on Facebook in order to hunt together. It's going to be available on MouseHuntGame.com as well as the mobile app. So if you do not have a Facebook account, or you've never connected to Facebook, or you don't want to, then you can have in-game friends to hunt with as well. We're currently working on the migration system, or the migration process that is going to launch the new system to import any existing friends you have. So it's our intention when the new system launches that you will have all the friends you currently have. That said, you'll then be able to completely manage your friends list, so you can prune inactive players if you wish to do so. So seeing some positive reactions in the chat. It's definitely a little bit overdue, but it was a technical hurdle that took us quite some time. I think we've been working on it now for a couple months now, almost exclusively. And it wouldn't be quite such a big project, but we have a legacy code base, as we refer to aging code bases, as often get labeled that way, and there's some technical debt to address with that. It looks awesome. So now these are just kind of mock-ups. These aren't actual screenshots of the work. I just kind of quickly grabbed some of the mock-ups that the artists were working on, or kind of like a wireframe. Above me is a little bit more of a wireframe layout than what the interface is exactly going to look like. Now that said, what we need a little bit of feedback on is a technical limitation that we're still looking into, and it's pertaining to the maximum number of friends. Now currently hunters are limited by the Facebook limit of 5,000 friends. However, players with that many friends, they likely already experience some slowdown while hunting due to performance issues. So it's a lot of friends to try to optimize for. With that in mind, the new system is likely to have a limit closer to 1,000. There's only a handful of hunters in the game that even have over 1,000 friends, so we may have to grandfather that. However, we kind of looked at some of those big friend relationships, and a lot of them are inactive players as well. So a lot of players, they might have 1,500 people on their friends list, but 800 of them are sort of inactive, and it's difficult to sort of prune your list, at least right now, to remove inactive players. So it's a bit of an awkward problem we're looking to solve, so we want to kind of get players help to get it right, and let us know what they think. There's a bit of a comment in the chat. Like I said, these are sort of wireframes or mock-ups. The one beside me here is your friend list. Just kind of also took an opportunity to overhaul some of the other friend views in the game, so just kind of wanted to make that look a little bit more gamified, add some color to it, give it more identity. I like the little strip of color behind the title. And the one above me is kind of a wireframe. There's a bit of an earlier mock-up for the actual system of receiving friend requests and either accepting them or ignoring them. Inactives are still useful for Halloween, for example. Well, certainly, you'll be empowered, though. You'll be able to have full control over who you want to be friends with, and you don't necessarily need to be friends on Facebook. I find the one on the right too colorful. Well, once it's in the game, it's toned back a little bit. So it feels a little bit different once you look at it in-game. Like I said, too, that was kind of like a Photoshop mock-up, so that's not actually a screenshot straight from the game. Still lots of work to do as well. We're kind of tweaking things a little bit. Frischman asks, there's people with 5,000 friends. There's very few, but there's not too many. I think there's maybe 800 people who have more than 1,000 MouseHunt friends, and of those, again, this is kind of off the top of my head because I'm a little foggy on the specifics, but I think only 300 or 400 of them even play still. And then of those 300-400 that still play, looking at the people that they have on their friends list, a lot of them are inactive. So realistically, I don't think there's a lot of people out there who actively hunt and interact with thousands of people. And even, if we were starting from the beginning, I think the limit would probably be even a little lower than 1,000 because most people are nowhere near that, and it's a little tricky to maintain that many relationships. If the migration could remove inactive players, it'll be somewhat simplified. So yeah, there'll be a page where you can sort by the time they were last online. You can go to the last page and you'll be able to remove inactive players, but we didn't want to make any decisions on behalf of players, right? So I think it's better that you as a player can decide who you want to be friends with, and if there's someone you want to remove from your friends list, you can make that decision. I feel like it's a little weird if we do that. Robert says he thinks it's 5,000 is overkill because there's limits on gift of the day. Certainly gifting is something you do with friends, but hunting as well, and taking each other on hunts, I think, is also pretty big. I think that's why a lot of people like to have a lot of friends so that their friends will sound their horn for them. What happens if we add MH friends on Facebook? Will we manually connect them? Asks Ryan. Yes. So going forward, once the system is out there, when you add somebody on Facebook, they will not appear on your MouseHunt friends list. Basically you don't need Facebook to play the game at all. That said, we are going to have a tool that lets you connect to Facebook and lets you see all your friends who also play MouseHunt, and from there you can quickly send them a MouseHunt friend request. So being friends on Facebook will no longer automatically make you friends on MouseHunt. But we will have a Facebook tool to let you see all your Facebook friends and decide which of them you would like to add in MouseHunt. But then it goes through the internal system. So you'll send them a MouseHunt friend request, they accept it, and now you're linked. You may also remember we did a player poll we put a link to a survey a while ago on the fan page, and a lot of it we were trying to decide what information to give sort of the most real estate to on the friends page as we were taking an opportunity to overhaul it. Oddly enough, there's not too much friend functionality or new functionality in the friends list. It was just kind of a nice opportunity. It's been long overdue to overhaul that list of friends that I think we probably last updated maybe 8 years ago. Do you need a passport when migration happened? I don't think I get that joke. Quick glance at the UI. The rank shields seem to take up quite a bit of visual space. See, that's interesting. Thinking that points, gold, and environment are important. There will be filters as well. So this is kind of just a little mock-up, but there'll still be the functionality to view all players in a specific area. There's sorting controls. There's search as well. This is just kind of a snapshot of just the list. Obviously, there'll be pagination controls along the bottom as well. But like I said, we did that survey. We were trying to gauge what information players use the most. It was surprising to see a lot of players actually use the friends list to send out their treasure map invites. And I would have thought most people would use the map interface to send out treasure map invites. It might be a symptom of the Friend list is an older interface, so it's something people are more aware of and familiar with. And so it's just kind of a habit that always go to the friends list to invite people to their maps. But you can also just click the map button on the HUD, and it'll bring up all your friends, and it'll show you if they're on a map or not, how many clues they've ever found, how many maps they've dusted. So it might be an opportunity to overhaul that as well. There might be kind of some functionality that would make that easier to use. Can we not have drop-down box filters like the current friend list? Yeah, they're all still there. This is just sort of, again, like a mock-up. This is an actual in-game screenshot, so it's missing, obviously, the game headers at the top. There's a bar to search. There's a drop-down box to filter friends by environment. All those sort of search and sorting controls and pagination controls just aren't in there. Can we have a quick link that we can post somewhere so people can add us directly, asks Mint. That's a good question. It'll be your Hunter profile link, so when you click on your shield or at the very top of the game, there's a link that says My Profile. When you click that, you can take the URL in your address bar and you can link people right to your MouseHunt profile, and that's where the Add Friend or Send Friend Request button will be. So that'll be a way to quickly share your Hunter profile and quickly ask people to send you a friend request or connect with people. Now that said, on mobile, we want to improve this experience a little bit going forward, but the first iteration of it, there'll be somewhere where you can see your Hunter ID, and then you can give your friend your Hunter ID, and there's a box where they can search by ID. Now, that said, they could also search the scoreboard if you have a name, but it's a little awkward on mobile. If you've never connected with Facebook, then technically you don't have a name. We don't have any personal information to customize your profile with. So because you're anonymous, the only sort of unique identifier someone can search you by is an ID number. Now, eventually, we would like to add maybe some more account management controls to the game, especially on mobile, to let you choose your own avatar and your name, and that would sort of smooth that out, help friends find friends on mobile. That said, that was a whole other can of worms, and we're already bit off quite a bit, so we wanted to chew that before we started a whole new sort of feature suite. Can we cut down the wait time on refreshing the friends list? It will no longer be required. There will be no refreshing your friends list because your friends will no longer come from Facebook, so there's no need to refresh your friends list. But as I mentioned earlier, there will be a tool where you can browse all your Facebook friends in MouseHunt and then send them friend requests, and that won't have any sort of time limit, at least not that I'm aware of. So you'll be able to, if you did add somebody on Facebook and you're like, oh, you play MouseHunt, I'll add you on MouseHunt, you could either just send each other your Hunter profile and your friends as soon as you accept the request, or you could go into this Facebook tool, you can find them there, and that will link them to their MouseHunt profile where you can send them a request. Hunter ID is not the SNUID in your profile link, asks Ryan. That is correct. That is a bit of a big, ugly number. It's very hard to share. So we're going to use our internal sort of user identifier, which is a smaller number, fewer characters. That's it. Like I said, going forward, though, we want to make that a little smoother. It's a little awkward to give somebody like a number to punch into the box. It could definitely be a better, smoother experience. Is there any difference if friends hunt with you if you're friends on FB versus MH? Basically, forget about Facebook entirely. You will no longer hunt with your Facebook friends. You will hunt with your MouseHunt friends. So there's really no going on hunts with Facebook friends anymore. That said, when the system launches, your current friends list will be imported. So everyone that you've already connected with on Facebook and they became your friends on MouseHunt, they'll still be there. But going forward, if you add somebody on Facebook, they will no longer interact with you in MouseHunt in any way whatsoever. You'll have to become friends on MouseHunt as well. Tentative date for the system update. Unfortunately, I'm not really comfortable giving even a tentative date. I will say it's nearing completion. We're kind of wrapping up. Next week, we want to kind of finish polishing all the interfaces. We're working on the migration tool, and then there's going to be plenty of testing. Something like this is a little tricky to test because it's player-to-player interaction. So there's a lot of different sort of use cases to go through, and then you have to see how was the experience on both sides of the person sending and the person receiving. So there's lots of testing to do. It's like I said, we've already been working on it for 2 months, and there's still some more work to do. But as you can imagine, after 2 months of development, that's a lot of things to test as well. So dev soon, says Michelle. Yeah, let's go with dev soon. All right, so we'll move on to Queso Canyon. Ooh, what's happening here? All right, Queso Canyon, new region. that we are working on. So as you may recall, if you've been watching Feedback Friday, a couple weeks ago, we collected some feedback from players on a variety of new areas. Based on feedback and suggestions, we decided to pursue the Queso Canyon, which is going to be a new region with 3 areas requiring the rank of Count or Countess. We've worked quite a bit on concept art, and we firmed up the design quite a bit this week, firmed it up enough to start development. We've already started painting some of the items and the mice, and expect that on Monday we're going to kind of kick off our full-scale development, so there'll be a lot more of the code being written to bring the region to life. The new region will have an adventure spanning all 3 areas. There's a Queso River, where mice are weak to law, the Prickly Plains, where mice are weak to arcane, and Cantera Quarry, where mice are weak to shadow. You'll collect a slightly salty metal called notch ore from the quarry to upgrade queso pumps at the river to extract delicious molten queso out of the river. And then on the fertile Prickly Plains, you'll harvest spices to craft with the queso and make some flaming hot varieties of cheese to hunt with. I'm using Ask Eddie platform where players may provide feedback on user behavior when it comes to UI. I'm sure we'd all love to be able to contribute data. You can go on the forums. There's the ideas and suggestions forum. That is a great place, or right here as well. I would do my best to kind of read the chat as we go, but it's also good if the Feedback Friday summary, I'll post one on both the tavern section of the forums as well as on Facebook, and that's a good spot to kind of refer to feedback, a little bit more of a permanent spot. Sally likes notch ore. We get very hungry while we've been brainstorming this area. I feel like I just always want a plate of nachos. The salt mine. This might be as close to the salt mines as we get. You're definitely going to a quarry to mine a slightly salty metal. Any new traps and bases for the area? Well, there will be lots to explore in the new region. There's going to be over 20 new mice. I think right now we have 23, but there might end up being 24. There's going to be plenty of tasty new cheese and several new traps, including a very impressive upgrade for the Meteor Prison Core trap. There'll also be some other upgrades. It's a little tentative, but there'll be a Draconic trap to act as a bit of a stepping stone between the Ice Maiden and the Mosu Picchu level traps. There's sort of a gap there. We've also been toying with the idea of adding more draconic areas that are lower level than Mosu Picchu. So having a draconic trap as a reward will kind of help fill that gap. As well as a forgotten trap to act as this is a Countess level area. You're going to be going for, or hunters coming to this for the first time, they'll be moving on to the fungal cavern, and if they don't have a limited edition trap, they'll have their ancient box trap, which might be a little bit underpowered for the fungal cavern, so they'll be able to earn a fairly straightforward to earn forgotten trap. As well as, if you have watched Feedback Friday, I believe he drew it live, maybe he didn't. Jacob drew a judge themed law trap a long time ago, and that will also be available in the area. So that is 4 traps. We're also playing around with the idea of adding a base as well, but just keep in mind it's Countess level. So the law trap will certainly be sort of best in game for that power type, but the other ones, obviously, they're not going to be better than, say, some of the Mosu Picchu or the Labyrinth rewards, because that area is higher level and it takes quite a bit longer to go through. How do we access the canyon? Open to suggestions there. It will follow Fort Rock, so it'll probably tie in to Fort Rocks in some way, where you will have to achieve at least some sort of objective in Fort Rocks to unlock the new area. With a canyon, I always think of Roadrunner, let there be an Acme reference. Well, our sort of version of Acme, we call it Franco, after Franco, because he tends to have a lot of the over-the-top ideas that sometimes backfire. Will Crescent Moon Cheese have any effect in the new area? No, they will not. They're just for Fort Rocks. There won't be any sort of werewolf or weremouse, I guess I should say, themed mice here to use your moon cheese with. Load up on snacks. Yeah, I get hungry here thinking of all this delicious queso. Will the gang boss mouse be in this region, asks Swift. No plans to add that mouse there. That was sort of, I don't know if it'll ever quite make its way into the game, but we'll see. I don't think it'll quite fit the theme of some of the concepts the artists have put together. Is Meteor core prison trap. Look at that. I knew what an acronym was. Is it going to still be the strongest law trap? There will be an upgrade for that trap. So that might be a good sort of medium-term goal to set for yourself before the area is released, is if you don't have the Meteor Core Prison Trap, you may want to go pick that up, because the plan is that there will be an upgrade, or at least a trap that requires it. Just because they're so close together, that trap's rather difficult to earn. Wouldn't quite want to outclass it just one title higher. What inspired you with queso? Just curious. It's been a bit of an old idea. I think we wanted to do an area that was queso themed, just a type of cheese we haven't explored. I think the original one was the Queso Archipelago, if I'm saying that right, a series of islands. But it started to feel a little tribal isles. Like when we were putting it together, it was a little too similar. So we liked the idea of doing a canyon, or originally we liked sort of underground aquifers of queso, and you're drilling down into the soil to extract it. But sort of as Jacob put together a little bit, he did some concept art for the area we tended to gravitate towards, what you can see on the side there, sort of a more of a canyon or a ravine, a river of flowing queso. That kind of looked delicious to us. Will Fool's Gold train badges be used here? We did ask on previous Feedback Friday. We wanted some feedback of whether players would like to see some of those resources reused. We decided to not reuse any of the train supplies, so the copper beads, the iron pellets, and the scraps of tin. Fool's Gold is still sort of tentatively something we're exploring. You can let us know what you think about that, about letting that tie into the area. It feels very thematic, but a lot of it may come down to play testing. Were there any other resources we were speaking about? I don't think so. Are all three areas coming out in one shot, or are they staggered, asks Derek? They'll all come out in one single release because they're all very interconnected. So you're going to have to collect resources from the quarry to increase your queso production back at the Queso River. And then you're going to have to take your queso cheese to the prickly plains to collect some spices to make spicier and spicier queso. Above me here you can see those leaves. That's some concept art that Lauren put together about going out into the plains and collecting sort of some dried up spicy leaves that get ground up. And that becomes sort of your seasoning for your cheese, and sort of this hierarchy of the, oops, wrong way here, the green bean, mild, medium, hot, and then sort of flaming hot. Leaf that looks like it's so dry you could blow on it and it would blow away. Mohammed asks, what rank can we access the area? It will be Countess. It's going to follow Fort Rocks. Do I need to complete Fort Rocks in order to access the new area? We haven't quite firmed that up yet. We're certainly open to suggestions and feedback. The idea is you'll have to do at least something in Fort Rocks to progress to this area, probably involving completing the adventure, so some sort of Monster the Meteor, or at least reaching Dawn objective. That's it. If we do sort of a map piece that's either created or is a loot drop, we'll probably do something similar to what we did when MouseHunt was launched, and we'd like to add the map piece about a week before the area is released to give hunters sort of a chance to get ready for the new area being added. Seemed like that went over pretty well. You can let me know what you think in the chat, but I remember asking about that before, and hunters kind of enjoyed that little week to get prepared. Will each area have a strong boss mouse? It might be a little too early to go into details, but if that's something you'd like to see, you can let us know in the chat. We were kind of planning, at least tentatively, to do a mouse in the plains and the quarry. We might, I don't know if the Queso River will end up having sort of a powerful, final, hard-to-get mouse. But as you can probably guess with the queso, mild, medium, hot, and flaming, there's sort of a progression, tiers of cheese to work through. Making some queso, crafting some mild cheese, hunting with that to collect medium spices, to collect hot spices, to collect flaming spices. Hana likes the idea of completing the adventure to unlock the area. Why is it a canyon? What about a lake? We were playing around with a queso lake as well. I think that would be in the top corner there. That's a little closer to a lake. I don't know if it just kind of got some inspiration from the Grand Canyon, or very, what's the word I'm looking for? Arid locations, right? Because the Grand Canyon, it's desert, it's arid. Seemed to fit well to come after Varmint Valley. We have areas that are good for farming lots of gold because I'm broke, asks Kit. Well, there's certainly a few of those in the game. This will be, you could expect what you earn in other Countess level areas. That said, typically as you go up in rank, the higher level areas have more valuable, rewarding mice. The sort of earning curve in the game looks kind of like this. It's one of these little S curves where in the middle of the game you get access to pretty more valuable or fairly more valuable mice, but that sort of tapers off just because if it increased exponentially, then at the end of the game it would be really hard to balance the points and the gold. Jalapeno Charms asks Purple. No jalapenos. Originally we were exploring like peppers growing out on the plains, but it felt the tribal isles was a little confusing because you collect peppers and to spice your Havarti cheese in the isle, so we wanted to do something different. We kind of concepted things out and ended up on the leaves. You can let us know if you think that's a horrible idea, but after iterating a little bit, we seem to like the theme. When is the tentative release date of the new area? Much too soon to share. We'll save that for maybe a future feedback Friday as things get closer. Queso Canyon sounds better than Queso Lake. That's a good point, Tarako. We are suckers for alliteration, so that's probably why Queso Canyon, we gravitated toward that one. SJ says, Varmint Valley is in the discussion, immediately very enthused. This is actually a brand new region coming that will follow after Varmint Valley, so you'll need to complete Fort Rocks or do something in Fort Rocks to unlock the new region, but it's a brand new region with 3 areas. Not even dev soon, says Michelle. That might be accurate. Like I said, we've started drawing a few of the items in the mice, and we are going to kind of start some more of the concrete code development next week. So you can kind of, as I mentioned, there's going to be over 20 mice, several traps, 3 areas. It's 3 header illustrations, a larger map piece to paint. So there's a lot of work that's going to go into the area, so you can kind of use that as a bit of a gauge. Will the new Forgotten Trap be stronger than the AABT, Ancient Anniversary Edition Ancient Box Trap, but weaker than the Endless Labyrinth Trap? It's a little too early to go into too specific stats because a lot of that's going to come down to playtesting. The intention, though, would be the Labyrinth Forgotten Trap should still be better, even the Crystal Crucible, right? Because we kind of tier things by title. So a trap that you earn as a Countess is probably not going to be as good as a trap that you earn in a Duke area, with limited edition traps usually being kind of the exception to the rule, where you can get something a little bit OP, but it's available for a limited time only. Mini event, asked Daniel. Zombie event while waiting. That's an excellent question as well. Are there any sort of smaller mini events, perhaps something that we've held in the past that you'd like to see in the meantime? Because there's definitely, it's a lot of work going in the area. It's going to be a little bit of time before you see Queso Canyon. And I just realized I got to change my charm in the living garden here. Switch over to the clarity. Sunken City! Puzzle Box! Sunken City mini event. King's Giveaway. Saw a few people mention the Sunken City one. Brian asks if the droid judge will outclass the Meteor Prison Corps. No, it will not. Unless something dramatically changes. But the intention would be if you didn't go get the Meteor Core and you're still hunting with that Slack 2, you'll show up in the area and the Trapsmith will have the Judge Trap to give you a little step up. But if you put time into earning the Meteor Core, then you're going to be much better off. You're going to have a better trap to start the area with, and then you can eventually earn an upgrade and then have sort of best in-game law. King's Giveaway, Living Garden. I don't know if we have a Living Garden mini event. Maybe a boss weekend. Maybe a whole month of just mini events. Every week we swap out a different mini event. Labyrinth event. King's Giveaway is always good. Lots of love for the King's Giveaway. We just did one in November, though. I think November, or was it January we did one? What's the name of the mouse in the pick, asks Mohammed. That is just concept art, so I don't think that particular one has a name, or that one might not make it into the game. As you can kind of tell, too, it's not a really finalized asset, but it kind of served to, they're exploring the theme of the Queso Canyon, of sort of what's the queso going to look like, and The artists like to explore that to make sure they all sort of keep a consistent theme for the characters. Double scrap metal event, old school. Daniel says, strange, no one mentioned Ronza. She's not really a mini event. Nobody knows when she's coming. King's giveaway, more prize mice. Need that leprechaun. Love the idea of different area-specific giveaways. Yes to multiple mini events. Last year's Royal Challenge was fun. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Luck event, double Fort Rocks event, Fort Rocks Meteor mini event. That might be a good idea to lead up to the release of Queso Canyon a little closer. Toxic Spill mini event. Christmas in July? Somebody suggests. How about another Royal Challenge? Guacamole mouse, please. Actually, we were coming up with resources, and then Franco said guac rock. It's like, what could you be mining in the quarry? He said guac rock. And we had a good laugh. I don't know if that might make it as some sort of trap component. Who knows? Gift free portal projector mini event. LG mini event. Now it's tough because it couldn't be something brand new that we'd have to develop, because obviously that would mean Queso Canyon gets pushed back a little bit more, but we do have this repertoire of mini events, and a lot of them are fairly turnkey to turn on. So it might be good if somebody's, if you've finished your other side objectives, if you're looking for, something to work on with friends who are also done sort of some of their side objectives, not interested in crowns or any traps. Might be fun. So it's something we'll keep in mind. All right, we'll move on now to Relic Hunter, Season 6. Whew. This is a brief one. The new Relic Hunter season is likely to start sometime around August, so that's quite a ways away still, but it might be here before you know it. We're looking for any suggestions players have on how to improve maps, the map interfaces, new types of maps to explore, suggestions for next year's limited edition reward. Derek says, isn't it a bit too early for this? Well, we got to start working on things well in advance before players see them often. Now that said, this event season was rather hectic for us. We got a little bit behind schedule on a few different ones. We struggled with some ideas. Some things got held up while we were playtesting them. And so we finished the MouseHunt's birthday event, and we realized we hadn't even been working on anything else. We'd just been kept falling behind on events. So it was kind of nice to Queso Canyon reset a little bit, and we're trying to get our pipeline back in order where we're working on things well in advance before they're actually released. But it was definitely, there was a lot of crunch time, but my hat's off to the whole MouseHunt team. They put in a lot of extra effort. I know during that event season there was a couple late nights here and there trying to squeeze in some last polish before the deadline. Forced solo maps that work like library assignments. That's an interesting suggestion. Purple says, my Gilded Scrolls Heart. Now, typically when we launch a new season, the Gilded Scrolls will be available again for a limited time. It's kind of a promotional thing we do to kick off the new season, as well as the 20 rare map dust deal. Any new trap space for the new season? That's what we're looking for suggestions for. Season 6 new traps. Probably we'd like to add one limited edition reward. I don't know if people like to see more than one, but treasure map with boss mice. We do. There is one. There's the Slayer scroll, and now the lightning map as well. They're so pretty. The gilded map scrolls do look very nice. I believe Lauren painted. I think we originally all the treasure maps all used the exact same image, and then one time we had some extra. Once upon a time we had some extra time, and Lauren was tasked up with drawing or painting all new scrolls and treasure chests, and she quickly became the treasure map expert. I think she was enthusiastic until she got to maybe about the 30th scroll she was painting. Like, I'm running out of ideas for scrolls here. It's a lot of scrolls. This year, Ancient Boost Base was rather useless. It's a little niche. It's definitely not a high-level, high-ticket item. Not something for high-level hunters. I will say some suggestions that we've seen, that we've sort of been keeping in the idea bank for next season to consider. Separating event, regular, and wanted posters into sort of different map slots. So when an event starts, if you're right in the middle of a Slayer map, you don't have to quickly finish it or cancel it. Some way to pause a map to complete it later. That's been suggested by players. It has a few balance concerns that we'd have to think about, so I don't know if we'd be able to pull that off. Showing how many maps you've personally dusted, just kind of an awkward thing where you can see how many maps your friends have dusted when you're inviting them, but you can't check your own stat. A special slot where you can hire a bounty hunter to kind of snipe a single mouse for a reward, so it wouldn't be really invited to the map, but you sort of put a bounty on a mouse's head, and you can get one of your friends or somebody from the forums to say, can you just go and please snipe off this Minotaur mouse for us? Nobody's set up for it, they get a reward, but then they don't get the treasure chest sort of thing. Explore allowing map advice to be sent to people who are not friends with the map owner. That will certainly also be easier as this whole friend system gets overhauled. We've taken care of some loose ends that were in the map code that kind of coupled it to Facebook. +1 to pausing a map, love that. Maps that have fewer mice but have a quota, that's kind of interesting. So like 10 mice, capture them all 10 times. Gray. Maps are for fun, not for profit. Well, a lot of the times I think you look at how players are playing or how they're using systems that are in place, and that kind of speaks to what they would like to be able to do. I know it's quite a common thing. Players will invite somebody to a map, and they're like, "Can you catch this one mouse, and I'll give you 50 super brie, or I'll give you 100,000 gold if you get this mouse," and then they leave the map. So seeing that so many players actually just do that, making it more accessible so it doesn't feel like, it's like, are they going to leave the map afterwards, or are they going to sit there and leech? Are they actually going to do what they said they're going to do? Separate slot for wanted maps and scroll maps. That would be neat. Love the bounty sniper idea too. That's it. Okay, that's good to see that there's some positive feedback in the chat. Or maybe just an event slot, says Ryan. Pausing a map would be fine as long as there's a decent cost. That's an interesting approach as well for that balance issue. If there's some sort of cooldown or some sort of cost associated with putting it back on the scroll to finish it later. It's also a little bit awkward, if the owner does that, but other people on the map are like, well, why'd you do that? I want to finish it. It has more to do as well with areas, say like the Acolyte realm. If you have an Acolyte mouse and a mole mouse on the map, obviously you could get a bunch of the maps and get the Acolyte, pause it, get the Acolyte, pause it, get the Acolyte, pause it, and then okay, cool, then go get the mole, next scroll, and it sort of removes that having to set up for a specific mouse, if that makes sense. Some other things that we've seen suggested as well is overhauling the map interface on mobile. It's a little bit antiquated. It was done sort of a little quickly to just get something out there so you could actually view your maps on mobile, but taking time to polish that a little bit more. Adding consolation prizes to all types of maps. So just in general, if you don't want to finish a map, then you don't have to. Brian, with the suggestion of just a map with all the really frustratingly rare mice. I don't know. I guess it's different because you're choosing to embark upon that. You're setting that goal for yourself, and it might be okay, but it sounds like it would be a very frustrating map, similar to we were asking hunters, what eggs would you like to see in the spring egg hunt? And we got a lot of positive feedback. Like, add a shelter egg. It'll be so crazy. And then I don't think people realize just how hard it would be until it existed. Map with a time challenge. That's interesting. Sort of the faster you can complete a map, the bigger the reward. Map to get certain loot instead of certain mice. That's interesting as well. Design your own treasure map list. That would be awfully neat. I know that would be a big technical challenge for us. Map with hidden mice. It's a little bit like the library assignments where you don't know what mouse is going to come next. A fail condition on maps. We need to see what players think of that. Typically, we try to make things in the game just always sort of progress forward. We try to avoid fail conditions a little bit because I feel like MouseHunt is sort of in the passive idler game genre, if you will, some RPG elements added to it. So typically it's all about just time equals progress, time equals progress. So there's certainly some spots in the game where you can kind of take one step forward, two steps back. But it'd be interesting to see what players think about some sort of map that you could fail. I know it wouldn't appeal to me, but it'd be interesting to see what other players think. Yeah, some more suggestions for maps where you have to capture the same mouse multiple times. Map with every boss mouse. That's the Slayer map. I guess it's not every single boss mouse, but be a hard list to keep up to date with. But the Slayer map definitely has boss mice. The Lightning map as well has several of the sort of what get referred to as boss mice, the hardest mice from each area. Yeah, the reward reduces as you take longer. I think I would like that a little bit more, like being rewarded for doing it quickly rather than being punished for doing it slowly. That's it. I don't typically, a lot of times in games, I don't like time restrictions, but that's just me. I know I don't like achievements where you have to maybe like do something so quickly to get it done. But that's more my own personal play style. If I'm playing, what's the genre called? Like the base building, like Age of Empires or something like that. RTS? No. I'm like the boomer. I turtle, I amass a bunch of resources, and then I throw everything out at once. I'm not the one that rushes really fast. So I think I always like to sort of amass things. I don't like time restrictions. I like to over-prepare for everything that I do. A map where if you don't catch a mouse, it changes every hour till you get it. Some of these seem a little torturous suggestions. I don't know. Yeah, the loot idea is nice. I kind of like a map where you have to go find certain loot drops because, again, that kind of draws upon your knowledge of the game and it opens up a little bit of, mild but strategic choice there. Like, do I go for a more guaranteed loot drop that's going to take longer to go and find, or do I try my luck somewhere else where it's a bit of a rare drop, or knowing I have to find scrap metal? What's the best place to find scrap metal? Kind of have to use some of your game knowledge to complete the map efficiently. So that's kind of neat. Peter says, "Me too, Turtles Unite." Yeah. Just in general, think about the types of games that I play, and obviously that influences some of the suggestions that I give to the team as well for MouseHunt. I play like city builders or like grand strategy games or things where you're building and you just get stronger over time. You don't ever really get weaker. You just keep, the more time you put in, the stronger you get. Like a scavenger hunt instead of a map. That's an interesting way to even theme it. I like scavenger hunt. Now, maybe a good way to differentiate, right? Where one's a treasure map and one's a scavenger hunt. And when you do a scavenger hunt, it's about loot. And when you do the maps, it's about mice. That's an interesting suggestion. Scrap metal for days, says Eugene. Okay. For scrap metal, just go to full Mina. Okay, I missed the comment right above it. A map with hidden mice. If we hire a friend to snipe a mouse on our map, will that mouse be locked so others can't catch it? Well, it's just an idea we're exploring, open to sort of suggestions, but we know players often, quote unquote, hire somebody to come and snipe a mouse. It tends to be the term for it. So you'll find somebody on the forums, or you'll just have a friend and be like, "Hey, are you all set up for a Warmonger? Or are you in wave 3 or 4? I'll give you 100 super brief. You just join my map, get the Warmonger off there, and then leave the map." Or even a more sort of friendly social way of that is finding a friend. "Oh, you're all lined up for the Warmonger? Why don't you come catch the Warmonger? Then you can have the treasure chest at the end. You can just stay on the map." But for this sort of snipe thing, I think we'd probably put like a bounty on it. Like you join, they have 24 hours to to catch the warmonger. Otherwise, they fail their bounty. You can hire somebody else to try to get it. But just kind of, because obviously there's a little bit of trust involved. So if it's if it's encouraged to do that with people outside your immediate social group, then you need a little bit of regulation. I don't know if that's the right word. It feels very serious. But super rare map dust, extreme rare map dust, ultimate rare map dust. That's interesting. Different, or like double dusting a map or something, but it might be difficult to go back. Obviously, all the maps have been sort of balanced with double rewards in mind. To be able to triple or quadruple dust a map might be a little obscene. Or maybe a different tier of map dust that added just a bonus item without sort of just exponentially making each map more and more and more rewarding. Might be a little hard to balance. Can you expand the map hunter capacity? That's an interesting thought as well. Maps with, different hunter limits. 'Cause 5 is just kind of a nice little number, but like on a rainbow map, for example, it would be not absurd to be able to have like 10 people on one of those maps because they're massive. Have a map counter so you can keep track of things like projectors, loot logs. I don't quite know if everything's set up nicely to be able to do that, both gameplay and technical limitation-wise, but that's kind of neat. Oh, that's a good suggestion as well. Progress bar towards the limited edition item. So, in case you're unaware, every season we add a limited edition reward to the Relic Hunter maps, not the area maps, specifically the Relic Hunter ones. And every time, excuse me, you open up a chest, it increases the chance of finding that limited edition the item up until your 30th chest is guaranteed to have it. So after you finish 29, your 30th will always have it. That said, by the time you're opening your 28, 29, I think it's like a 97%, 98, it's a really high percent chance of finding it. So it'd actually be quite the achievement to not find it until your 30th chest. And opening rare chests as well just straight up doubles your chances of finding that. So it'd be extremely rare to open up 30 rare treasure chests in a row without the limited edition item. A poker run concept utilizing crafting table to build hands. Franco would love your suggestion there, SJ. He really wants a poker-themed area. He seems to suggest card houses a lot. We've played around with it a little bit, but it always just feels kind of complex, especially if you're not familiar with the rules of poker, so to sort of simplify it. So we've had trouble with the theme. Suggestion for the sniper to kind of, multiple mice, yeah. That might make things less awkward of having to invite somebody back if you want to use that same person over and over. Like I said, very early, this is probably August, but I'd like to get a little tentative list so I can add that to our sort of idea bank that we have, because we like to add some quality of life improvements, a few minor updates to Relic Hunter every time we refresh the season. There'll be some loose ends, or we could make the interface a little bit nicer. It's a good opportunity to do it. Now, that said, I have been going on for 50 minutes. We better wrap things up here. By all means, you can let me know in the tavern section of the forums about all 3 of these topics. We got the friend system, Queso Canyon, and especially treasure maps, Relic Hunter Season 6. You can go to the forums and reply. I'll put a summary up. It'll probably be up this afternoon. You can let us know what you think. So, as we always do, we'll end things off with a trivia question, and Larry the Knight will have a reward. Let me just make sure I got that link handy. Yes, I do. And it is about 50-50 whether or not I will have the answer right. We'll see. What am I doing? I forgot. I wasn't hunting. Just wasted a clarity charm. Wasn't paying attention. 48 is some guesses from the chat. It is a numeric answer, but bonus marks if you name the items as well. How many non-limited edition draconic traps are there currently in the game? Is this week's challenging trivia question. 21 is way too high. Game is not live right now. Limp won't work. That is awful, awful timing that the maintenance is happening right this second. 3 is correct. And a ton of people had 3, all at the exact same time. Let me scroll back here. 3.14. Swift, you were just slightly high there. Julia, I think, had 3. And Amusing Follower, I kept saying Amusing Flower, but Amusing Follower, Ice Maiden, Stormrot, Dragonvine, Ballista is correct. Those are the 3 non-limited edition traps. So as you can see, there's quite the hole in Draconic, as well as in terms of number of mice that are weak to Draconic, areas that have Draconic mice in it, obviously. It's sort of a connotation there as well. So that's sort of some of the motivation of why maybe Queso Canyon we'd like to have a Draconic trap there to help bridge the gap. So with somebody coming to Mousu Picchu, they don't have the Ice Maiden. They have an opportunity to get a slightly better trap to start off with. As well as we will probably explore some lower level Draconic areas because there's not too many of those mice in the game. So there's lots of room to sort of flesh that out. The Dragon Lance is limited edition. I was asking how many non-limited edition Draconic traps there are. So here's the reward link. As Michelle aptly pointed out, this will not work. So you can hold on to this. It will be in my summary as well. I'm losing my voice from an hour-long Feedback Friday. That is lengthy. Dave, don't post reward link. Well, like I said, this isn't going to work. Giorgio is doing some friend-related maintenance. So I guess something came up with the friend system. Have a great weekend. You as well. Thank you. So I think he did pop up a ticker there, but I don't think he's going to be too long. But if... I'm going to double check here. Yeah, so you may just have to hold on to that reward link for a bit. And I'll post it in my summary as well. Well, seeing as there is some maintenance as well, maybe I'll hang out for a few more minutes. If you have any more suggestions, recap some of the feedback we had here. I'm approaching the friend limit for the friend system. Maybe I'll make myself smaller. I feel too large there. Chat with us till the game's up. Sure, Derek. I will stick around for at least 6 minutes. Queso Canyon as well. Excited for the updates. Sounds good. Yeah, I'll chill out over here. This is more whimsical to admire. Little boy said my monolith base wasn't mentioned. That is actually something else that we're working on, sort of behind the scenes, but nothing too firmed up. Mentioned another Feedback Friday about overhauling the Burrows region as a whole. So we've sort of been working our way from the beginning of the game forward, revising areas, improving sort of the gameplay there. Very happy to share as well. That's had a very positive effect. So players entering the game, they are much more likely to keep on playing. And we sort of measure. We put these spots in the game that are important steps in all the early game adventures, and then we sort of chart that on a little funnel and seeing how far along people are getting. And it's looking much better now. We've done a few iterations on a few areas. But the next in line is the Burrows with the laboratory, as well as the town of Digby and Mausoleum. They're all sort of slightly interconnected, so we might do them all at once, or we at least want to plan to know, so, if we decide something for the lab, that it doesn't affect negatively the Mausoleum or sort of paint us into a corner. That's a very popular suggestion. What got me talking about that was a very popular suggestion from hunters was to give the monolith base a new use. Definitely open to suggestions there. We're thinking about things of like stacking them together, crafting them together to make it more and more powerful within Digby. or lets you smash it, and you can use it as sort of a pokeable item to give you random rewards. Suggestion on improving the inventory UI. The new update for trap pages are ugly. We do have one other little tweak coming in the pipeline for charms, where we kind of emphasize the description more than the stats. More of a Renaissance type area. It's a little interesting. Are you still thinking of making it possible to leave the tower without losing progress, asks Maz. That is that's a goal at some point. We've never prioritized going back there and taking care of that, but we would like it so that when you enter the tower, it sort of activates your tower amplifier, and if you go back into the seasonal garden, there's just a button to like reset and start recharging your amplifier, and then you could come and go as you please. It's just you can't recharge your amplifier once you've entered the tower. That's it. We just haven't had the time to prioritize that. And it's not a really turnkey, easy change to make because it is one of the oldest areas with a unique mechanic in the game. It's kind of coded in a completely different way of some of the newer areas, which makes it tricky to catch. It's a little brittle because it's so old now. It's called brittle code. If you change something, you may inadvertently break something else. So there's a lot of testing involved. Second charm conduit for 2 charms. I think the ship has sailed on that idea because it might be a little too powerful. More quick trap slots definitely would be neat to explore. Just overhauling how you switch traps, remembering trap setup, setting things as favorites. I think that could be a lot nicer. Zero error. I think that's a suggestion that we have in the idea bank as well, as being able to sort of track your loot, your progress. So we have that 36-hour log. We'd like to overhaul that so that it tracks things sort of as you go, and you could choose when you want to reset it. So, you know, maybe on the start of the weekend, you could hit reset, everything zeroes out, and you could just see how much gold am I going to get by the end of the weekend, and you could choose how often you want to measure that, or if you want to, you know, how much loot can I get in 36 hours or 48 hours or a whole week. You could put that together and share it easily. Can you make Lucky Golden Shield a stackable aura? Some challenges with that. We're a little nervous to touch the shield. It is kind of like the free t-shirt with every purchase sort of thing, but there's some scaling issues where you get a month for $1 or you get 4 months for 20. So if it's stacked, there's some awkward stuff there. We've brainstormed a few things to revise it, but that said, I don't know if we'll ever end up changing it. We need a new, stronger tactical than the Chrome Sphinx Wrath. Again, much too early to discuss anything, but we have mentioned on previous Feedback Fridays we're trying to put together an Archduke area that will involve all the power types, and I can't say for certain, but it's probably not a big stretch to imagine that the rewards would include new best in game for every single power type in that area. Not every single one, but several of them I would imagine you'd be able to get some upgrades for. But again, that's really far down the road, really epic area, probably not even this year. We're still kind of designing it. So new tactical would probably come around in the Archduke area. And the area would also involve all the power types, so you'd be able to put all your traps to use in one sort of big, massive region. Bases with the same trap power with the traps. I don't think I get your suggestion there. Make Larry help bring us on Hunt if we're in the same region. That's kind of neat. That said as well, we did a poll a while ago asking a lot of questions about the friend system. They're influencing some decisions about Queso Canyon as well. We're asking about, adventures that span multiple areas. Are you okay with that? Kind of like the Tribal Isles or the Acolyte Realm. And a lot of players seemed positive. The results were pretty good where they like it, but the caveat being it's a little harder to hunt with friends. So it'll be a nice first step forward with this new friend system that we put together. is maybe we could overhaul how hunting with friends work. That said, not with the friends released together, but I think we'd have positive feedback about, picking 8 friends or 10 friends or something that you can go on a hunt with no matter where you are. And also make it a lot easier when you have a friend who just started the game and they're hunting in like the mountain, right? You can bring that friend on a hunt still. So something we want to explore. We've seen some positive feedback. Let me know what you think in the chat. Are the ideas from last art FBF going to be in Queso Canyon? Well, asks Swift there. I'm not quite sure exactly what he drew last Feedback Friday. I think he was doing the canyon stuff there. That's probably going to influence how the map. But I think he was almost exclusively working just on concept art. So I'd imagine even if anything got incorporated, it would probably be repainted. For instance, like this mouse here is kind of a concept art mouse. But that character might get reimagined, but it'd probably be, tweaked at least. A new Grand Duke new area. Queso first or Relic Hunter Season 6 first. Queso Canyon will come out. So I did kind of roughly go in the order that these things will be released, hopefully. I'll knock on this fiberglass IKEA desk. I don't know if it's made of wood. The Friend System, Queso Canyon, and then Relic Hunter Season 6. What about smashing 2 traps and making a fusion? We do that a little bit. I don't know if 2 power types on a single trap. I don't think we could make that work. But thematically, the Sandstorm Monster Bot, you have to kind of combine all the bot traps in the game. Frank is wanting to see a 4-player submersible in an underwater area where you can work together. It sounds a little bit like the train. I think the lesson learned there is that it's difficult if there are group objectives. As an area gets older, a lot of people have completed it and they're not particularly interested in going back. So it's something we like your friends to be able to help you out, but not sort of mandatory. I think we'd shy away from something like that. SJ worries about something coming up in the adventure book and not being able to complete it. I believe, unless I'm mistaken, if there is an adventure and you do not complete it, it doesn't hang out in your adventure book as incomplete. It just kind of gets lost and forgotten forever. So lag, yes, I'd imagine now as I cross the hour-long mark on the stream that the video encoding is slowly cooking my CPU, and eventually I'm going to start, my frame rate's going to drop. Server's back up. All right. Let me see. Oh, so says the chat. Don't let me down, chat. Yes, all right. We're back in business. So Giorgio has completed his friend system maintenance. That was a quick little tweak he had to make to accommodate some of the friend system work that he's doing. Game lag, not video lag, lol. All right, good to know. I did drop my quality down a little bit, so I guess that's helping. Let's move the camera to Gio's workstation and see if he's done. I'll keep the pressure off of him. Oh yeah, Frank, sharing supplies. Yeah, that'd be a neat approach. So your friends can give you a little help, but if they're not there, you can still just go it alone. And as always, things are a little sluggish when it comes back up. What we refer to as a stampede. Frequently, to get things to load quickly, you cache things, and then when you do maintenance, the cache is invalidated. Or more specific to MouseHunt, there's a bunch of people who haven't sounded their horn for 5 minutes, and they're all waiting, and they're all going to sound it at the same time, so it kind of syncs up groups of people. It's interesting. It's always the worst if we're down for 15 minutes. Then sort of everyone who's online they have the hunter's horn ready to sound. So that's, if there's 12,000 people online, then that's 12,000 people who are going to simultaneously hunt. Whereas it's nice to spread it out a little bit more. Brian asks, Archduke areas first or New Rift first? Probably the Archduke, I would say, unless plans change. But taking a little break from the Rift. There's certainly lots of Archduke, Archduchess hunters in the game. I think the timing is right for an Archduke area. New rift. Nothing planned. No immediate plans for a new rift. And the next one might be a doozy. It might be the Tribal Isles. That would be a massive rift, I would think. And I think some people are finally claiming that reward link I posted so long ago. All right, well, with the game back up with an epic 66-minute stream, thank you for joining me, hunters. Thanks. I'll put the reward link up one last time here down below. Zoop, and I'll include that in my summary as well. It'll be on the tavern section. I'll post it on Facebook. Thank you for joining me for this epically long stream. How many people do we have hanging out with us? Let's see here. Lots. I have a scroll bar. That's my definition of lots if I have to scroll. Thanks for joining me. Have an amazing weekend, or if you're watching this recorded and it's no longer the weekend, I hope you had an amazing weekend. Happy hunting. We'll see you next week. I don't have an outro slide. Let me put that together right now. Type the words, thanks for watching. All right, happy hunting.